Hello, my name's Kelly McMahon,
Willie Swift.
I'm Grant Slack.
And I'm Cody Sharrow.
and today we are going to be discussing our influence diagram that's titled Health Complications Influenced by Obesity and Underlying Factors. So when we went ahead and started looking, our blue lines show strong influences and strong connections between two bubbles. And the red curvy lines show weaker links that we still found and thought were important, but they weren't as important as the blue lines. And Grant is going to be discussing how obesity connects to heart complications and diabetes, while Cody's going to be talking about how exercise and genetics can also be a big influence into obesity. And then to finish, we are going to have Willie speak to us about different implications and improvements that we thought would be really important that could help improve the obesity.
So before Cody and I get into what we're talking about, we kind of want to explain like how we're setting this up. So basically, Cody and I want to talk about basically how/what's going on within obese populations that are influencing diabetes and cardiovascular disease. Because we think to truly improve a problem, you have to first be able to understand what's actually going on. And so in obese populations, as you can see right here, and I'll try not to block the light, but there's an arrow going to diet and from obesity back and forth. So diet plays a role in obesity and obesity plays a role in your diet. And so there's actually right here obesity, we have linked to cardiovascular disease. And this is actually because in obese populations, they've found that they have increased levels of a hormone called leptin, which is basically controls appetite and is involved in systems like that. But this can also be influenced by your diet. So your diet is influencing your obesity, and your obesity is influencing your diet, which can both influence cardiovascular disease. And basically, this is through increased leptin levels cause increased blood pressure. So when you increase your blood pressure, you increase the amount of work your heart has to do, which can then lead to different cardio effects within the body. And then additionally, there's a link between obesity and diabetes. And this again can be linked through the same mechanism I was talking about earlier, except instead of leptin, obese populations have been found to have increased levels of a fatty acid called palmaric acid. And so basically what happens is, in diabetes, there's a problem with insulin receptors. And so insulin is what enables your cells to absorb glucose within the body. And so they found that palmaric acid is actually affecting the beta cells in your pancreas. And so the beta cells in your pancreas are what are responsible for actually making the insulin, which then go to your cells to help it absorb glucose. And so the palmaric acid, which is coming from your diet/obesity, is making it so your body can't naturally make the insulin in the way it's supposed to, which is causing the increased diabetic rate in obese populations.
So with obesity and genetics, there's been some talk about a potential link, and it's widely debated that genetics is not a part of obesity, but it's one of those underlying factors. Now within the genetic and the genomes in of themselves, we have different types of genes. We have monogenic, which is an alteration of a single gene of itself, and it's very rare amongst individuals. There's an early onset of it, and it leads to endocrine problems later on in life. Then we have the syndromic, which is in clinical phenotypes, and it's commonly found in mental retardation. But this one is also very rare. It's 5 to 10% of the population possesses this alteration in the gene, which induces hyperphagia. And hyperphagia is the cells constantly consuming, so they feel the need to continuously eat, and in turn that causes weight gain, and then therefore as life goes on, the onset of obesity. And then we have polygenetic, and also altered genes. Specifically, it affects the melanocortin-4 receptor, and with the melanocortin-4 receptor, it's commonly found in childhood. It's a childhood onset. So it increases fat mass from day one as soon as this gene is altered. With exercise and obesity, it's very common that, if you work out, you'll lose weight, therefore you won't be obese. People have found or say that they can't exercise because of their genetics, and there's that weak link here that we see between genetics and lack of exercise, and it's not necessarily genetics per se, but it's because they don't want to. Now, lack of exercise has been shown to, of course, induce the obesity, the onset of the phagocytes wanting to eat more, but with exercise incorporated into a person's obese life, then weight reduction occurs because glucose tolerance is limited up to 2 hours after high intensity exercise. And with this, then the body doesn't absorb it nearly as readily, and with this absorption rate decreased, then the body can utilize it as a metabolic fuel.
So I'm going to be talking about more of the health complications that result from obesity and why certain environmental factors affect it, and also some of the improvements that can go along with it as well. So to start, one of the things that, in terms of environmental hazards that contribute to obesity, is low income neighborhoods. And so with this, this affects health education, because in these neighborhoods and inner city areas, these schools don't have a lot of resources, and they don't have the funding to implement the health education and nutrition programs that are necessary to get these children to understand how important it is to eat healthy and things along those lines. And so with health education, goes along with diet. So they will learn the importance of dieting and why it's important to eat a healthy diet and what the consequences are for not eating healthy. And it also goes along with lack of exercise. This can also tie into lack of exercise because there are not very many rec centers, and if you're of a lower socioeconomic status, then you'll be less likely to be able to afford like a gym membership or even want to go outside due to fear of safety in neighborhoods. And this will also lead to other health complications such as diabetes and cardiovascular disease and other health complications.
All right, to conclude, we have our Works Cited page where we use 4 different articles to talk about the different health complications related to obesity, specifically exercise, genetics, cardiovascular disease, and diabetes. We hope that this gave you a little bit more insight of what we will be researching in our final project. Thank you.